All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to today's podcast. We are joined by Fedor Holes, tournament crusher, and now he's taking the money, hit and running the scene, moving on to some other ventures. Fedor, welcome to the pod today, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So let's just like start off and talk a little bit about poker here because I saw when you retired or you said you were retiring. And I was like, "Oh, that's funny, man. You're gonna go with the retirement." But the thing is, once you're crushing the high rollers and you're winning a lot of money in those, kind of hard to really walk away from that. And I know what you meant. You meant like I'm only gonna be playing, some really high value events, right? You're not gonna be like
Yeah.
grinding online. You're not gonna be putting a lot of time into studies. So I mean, I understand like kind of what you meant with that, but how much poker are you still playing these days? I see you still stop by to win a high roller every now and then, which is nice of you. But what's kind of like your schedule like with poker? Like how into the game are you still?
So, I mean, the basis of that decision was mainly I see the value of poker for me was earlier. Like I felt like even the hours that were kind of low, like on the lower end of the spectrum, still felt like I wanted to spend that time there. Like the overall journey where I wanted to go, it was all like, okay, if I want to reach that goal, I have to put in these 100%, and that was just the part of the plan. And then after the summer, a lot of things changed, obviously. Um, and this feeling that I've had a little bit before now really heavily materialized. And I was like, okay, now the value of the bottom, 80%, 90% of the hours was almost minus. Like I was like tough after Vegas. I was super drained. I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I can find something that I like more. So that was like the basis idea. And so, I mean, the whole talking about retirement, that was more like basically the part about it was um, what I wanted to say was, hey, I'm probably just gonna play, like 3 to 5% of what I used to play. I think I played maybe 1,000 online hands since last summer, and I played like 40 live tournaments or something. So it's basically nothing. Um, and I called it retirement because it was in the connection with that 1 million one drop, and it was just like this joke of invitation only, and yeah, so that was like the whole thing behind it. But yeah,
Yeah, actually, when you did that, I did like a joke on my channel. It was like it's been like almost a year now. It was like 10 months ago or something. So I don't remember exactly what I did, but I ended like one of my like news segments with like showing you in like a retirement home with like some old people and
uh,
like you were like retired now. I'm like
yeah.
he's in a better place, guys.
No, I mean
So
it was that way of packaging that like pretty, from my perspective, like pretty clear and rational decision into something a little more fun that fit the poker scene, basically. Like,
so what events are you still playing? I mean, clearly, like there's obviously a few ones you just have to play. I mean, one drop, as we both know, is
yeah,
a mandatory one that you have to play. So that totally makes sense. And then 300K, amazing tournament. Like the structure in the 300K is really something
oh,
because
I mean,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, it was, yeah, I think you just said it. Like, that was just, that's literally like the top spot. Like this is the 20 hours of poker where you're just like excited every hand. You just want to play every hand well. And it was really, the 300K was really like, I was sitting there, I was like, man, I had this amazing table, this insane spot where I think it was 4.5 recreational players, um, and all sitting exactly to my left. And I was just like, God, I have to play like crazy. I was like, if people see me now, I look like a maniac, Like Kevin Hart didn't play a hand; he played like so tight. So I just like had to open super wide and had to flat a lot, like in position. It was just like not things didn't go things didn't go my way. So that looked like,
As
I was like, fuck.
as opposed to your normal style, which is very tight and conservative.
No, but I would say I started out really aggressive, and then obviously like you know, the whole GTO ranges approach of like, okay, you got to know like the percentages, what you open where, how you play hands from where, and then that was like, okay, I think if you have a slight post flop edge, you still want to add like like a couple percent to each of these ranges, flat a little more, raises a little more. But I would say actually in these high rollers, I don't play too loose comparably.
Well, okay, so for starters, like I totally agree with that approach. I think like starting with a good baseline is probably like a mistake that I think a lot of players make. Less nowadays. I think everyone tends to be a little more principled than like even a few years ago.
Yeah.
But just like having like your base where you're going to start from, and then make some adjustments based around like what's the table like what are the stacks like, what are like all the different factors at play. I think that's like a really solid way just to approach poker in general, because it's like, all right, well, if I'm normally opening 18, these are the factors, these 4.5 recs behind me, now it's 46. No, I'm kidding. But you can make it like 23, 25, whatever. And obviously that's going to be like, a pretty good strategy. And like, I didn't mean to say like loose in like a bad way or anything. I actually think that, you play like really well. I always say like on my channel that I think like you are one of the best tournament players. You're also just a luck box as well. It's a nice combo. It's a little 1-2
It
punch.
is an amazing combo. How does it feel, Doug? Tell me. Right? Like
honestly,
I think you just joined the club, didn't you?
I think I just joined the club. I mean, the thing is like I play like I kind of actually, it's a little bit similar. I play like no tournaments and then I win them.
And you have 3 fucking brace. Oh, I mean, I don't know how TV like this is. Maybe I shouldn't swear too much.
You are more than welcome to say fuck.
Okay, great. That's good to know.
It's my channel, man. No rules. Well, some rules.
It's 11 p.m. here, so I'm like, okay, let's go all out.
Yeah, I got you. No, but anyway, what I was gonna say is this: like, I've seen you play a lot. I've actually reviewed some of like the online. I reviewed the 100K that you chopped last year. With Ben CB. And like, yeah, I think you play like a really good style of poker.
Thanks. I think live. I just love live poker. Like, especially when you said like have a solid baseline and then put in information. I think that's where my strength is, like these little adjustments. Like over the last 2 years with lots of live experience, I think I now have this range of basically how I approach it is how sure am I? I basically give it a certainty factor. So there's certain things where I do really out of line plays, but very low frequency. So sometimes I make like very out of line folds because I'm quite certain. But that doesn't happen often. So I have to amass information basically. And the more information I gain, the more that certainty factor kicks in. And then I make adjustments based on that. I think that's something a lot of, like you talked about that, I think with Pratouche in your last podcast, is like people are like black and white kind of, where they're like, oh, he has it or he doesn't have it. And I'm more like this kind of thing. Okay, I have this baseline, but I still want to exploit people because I think I have an information like head start. So I'm like, okay, how can I have like a tiny information on someone? Let's do like a tiny exploit. And I think that's the beauty of live poker, where there's little things when you play hundreds of hours, like literally, there's certain people I played maybe 100, 200, 300 hours against. I'm like, you feel certain things like timing or how interested they are, if they use a timing chip. It's just these things. You have like a sample size of 15 situations, and that's what I love. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, not to cut you off. But heads up no limit is actually like, I mean, it's more of the mathematical side of that. Like it's less like like how do they hold themselves, how do they move the chips in the pot, how what's their timing like. It's a little less like that, because those are just easy things. Like if you're playing online heads up at like a high level and you're like, well, I bet like 60% pot when I'm strong and like 50 when I'm weak, like that stuff's gonna get torn apart obviously. But when I would play like heads up, or like I would approach a match, I always go into it with like okay, so you kind of have like some general ideas stylistically how people play. Like the Swedes tend to be aggressive. There's like lots of like things that you can kind of know. But I always kind of would open with, this is my strategy. This is like a balanced approach. This is like close to what I think how the game should be played. And as you get more data, as you get like a larger sample, you can be more confident in making large deviations from what your baseline is, based on how confident you are in your reads. But it always gets a little dicey when you start getting too far down that road. I remember a hand we played at the final table of the 10K 6 max. This is a hilarious hand. I forget the exact board.
Check raise?
Not the check raise hand. That hand's great too. We've played a few hands. We've played a few hands back in the day.
I would definitely not play that hand anywhere close to how I played it back. I actually think I think that play, for example, is a population tendency thing that I just normally almost always do because it gets so many overfolds. Like, but that's just a
So
different
the hand in question, I'll just brief summary. Fedor bet the
Oh, I
river.
know that one. Fuck no. But it's okay. This one, I have it in my defense. I did not know it was a chop. Like, okay,
Okay.
doesn't matter. Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have to go through hand mysteries. The only thing that
Oh,
matters,
God.
like there was a hand where I tried to get really thin value on the river, and then you were so sure I had it based on my body language that you're like, he just has it, and you laid down.
I mean, you did. Like, it's
I
not,
did.
you know,
I thought I had it.
5-5-8 ace 10. It was 5-5-8 ace 10, and it goes check check. 5-5 ace 8 10, and it goes check check, and then you bet like 40% on the river.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, and it's just the way you bet and the way, like, I was just like, there's, I know you're bluffing there, but like I know that, like, I think I had a weak 10 or something.
I think you had a weak 10, and I think I just had
yeah,
eight. I
king
mean,
eight.
10s and 8s
Yeah,
are the
king
same.
eight, yeah. And I was just like, the range he checks back on the flop, that he doesn't bluff on the turn, and then the river. I was just like, it's not like a super wide range that, you know, I mean, it can't be too wide of a bluffing range on the river. I don't think so. Like, just, it was 4 or 5 handed, you open, I defend big blinds, and you set to my left. So you're not opening too wide. I think at that point, like, GTO wise, you should see bet that board very, very frequently. So that's also like the first thing where I'm like, okay, when someone checks back that flop, I get a little cautious.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And then literally on the river, I was like, okay, you know, take it. And
Yeah.
bluffed me.
Yeah. But anyway, I wasn't trying to go down too many of those hands. We used to battle it out a little bit back in the day, just briefly. But yeah, like I think that approach in general in poker is just like a really solid approach to the game.
For sure, I totally agree. Yeah, I think it's this. I had a lot more of this and refined it. Like, I was a lot more quicker with that certainty before, and I'm less now. But it's still my tendency. I think I'm still a player that just likes that intuition, because I think my intuition basically takes that information that I gained over the years and is processing it into a result. And I think it's been right a lot of times, and I think it's making me a lot of under the net. So, like, that's why I tend to trust it, and I'm analyzing how to use it best.
Yeah, that makes some sense. That's maybe something that like I have not done enough of in my career. Because like, especially in a lot of these live tournaments, you know, I felt like this for a very long way, like for a very long time, that, you know, my baseline strategy and like understanding of like poker and theory is going to be strong enough where, you know, as long as I'm playing like my strategy and I'm not getting too crazy, I'm always winning, you know. But when I start to play games where I try to figure out exactly what certain people are doing, and part of it's also, I guess, I have less experience playing, you know, a lot of tournaments. I kind of like my tournament career, it's been pretty short. You know, I've played like mainly the higher stakes stuff. And like I know some things about certain players, but not like, you know, not like real. No, there's no real sample here. Like, I've maybe played like 50 or 100 hours with some of these guys, like lifetime. And so like I guess I just prefer to make sure that I'm winning with a good strategy, and pass up maybe some opportunities at like some like serious EV, you know. But yeah, I mean, reasonable approach, I think, either way. But let's actually get back to the question here real quick, because we kind of got off. So what events are worth playing these days?
2 factors matter. Obviously, the first one is value. That, I mean, nobody can, you know, neglect that fact. The second one is fun. Like, there's certain trips I will not make again. Like, even if Prague becomes like the softest tournament, I will not travel there. I've been there 4 or 5 times. It's just, there's no value for me outside of it. I don't really enjoy it too much. Maybe I've done it wrong. Like could be. I just don't like the location of the hotel and like not much around it and pretty shady area actually around it and yeah. Like PCA as well. I was just like last time I went there I was like, yes, these games are great, but this place is just literally one of the worst places for me personally. I know a lot of people like it. It's just not my. I just like it more, city vibe. You have other people around. You can get good food. You have opportunities to enjoy your time around outside of poker. That's very important to me right now. So, friends is also a huge thing. So the trips that all my friends take are the ones. So I mean that means I'll probably take between 3 and 5 trips a year. The Vegas trip for the big ones. Then probably one Macau trip. I'll actually fly to Montenegro, I think, to play the 1 million Hong Kong. And yeah, that's gonna be great, I think. And I mean it's pretty close too, so that's an easy one. And then Monte Carlo I also really like for a couple days or like a week. And so yeah, I think that's about like the sched.
Yeah, like I'm pretty much the same way. I've actually never gone to PCA because I've just heard kind of how it is, and I'm just like, yeah, I'll just pass on it. Like for example, like I like going to Australia. I've been there.
Australia, snap, hands down. Like Australia is if I had to choose one spot, it's I don't know how I forgot that one. That's hands down my favorite spot. Everyone's like all the players. This is insane. Every player is at least 20% happier in Melbourne. Like conversations are so much better. The time you spend is so much better. People play better. Like it's crazy.
What do you mean by play better? Like
they're more relaxed, more confident. Like they enjoy their time more. It's more talking. Like it's more joking around. It's crazy. It is really crazy. Whereas in like other spots, people are pressured. They're like maybe lost money. They're like, oh, Vegas, for example, that Vegas makes that with people. Like if they lose money for like 3 weeks or something, you can really see it. In Melbourne, if people break, they're like, oh, you know what? I go outside, sunshine, like enjoy the river, have a great time. Like it's very different.
I think there's actually a few reasons for that. First off, for most people, it's winter, and you feel like you're cheating. Like whenever I get to Melbourne, I'm like, I'm here in January, and it's like really nice. Like I'm just cheating the system right now. I'm getting like some free summer in there. So that's one thing. I think in general, Australians are really happy, fun-loving people. They're really easygoing. I mean, terrible service at restaurants, but they're good people. You
can't be mad at them like that. You just can't be mad. They're just always so nice, so open. The food is amazing. That's like one of the things. The breakfast, we meet for breakfast there every morning. In Vegas, we're always like breakfast, like okay, but what place? It sucks. Deadman's Sant Ali is amazing as well.
Yeah, they have really good coffee.
Oh, the coffee in Australia, like mind blowing. Yeah, if you haven't been to Australia, that's the trip. Great like softest tournaments as well, softest cash games. It's amazing. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I didn't go last year, but I think I went the 2 years before that. And actually one of those years I like just decided while I was there, I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay here for 3 months. Just gonna stay here and hang out and be in Australia and play online.
Oh, that was the grind year, huh? Like where I think that was the time where was that when Dong grinded a lot of heads up? Was that that time?
Yeah. That was back when Dong was a heads up reg.
Now he's a coaching professional.
Dude, I honestly wish I got to talk to Dong more. All I know about Dong is like he's always in Asia.
Yeah.
And then like whenever I hit him up, like no matter what time it is, I hit him up. He's like going to bed. Doesn't matter what time of the day it is. And then if he hits me up, it's like right before I go to bed or like while I'm asleep, and like that's our relationship.
Oh, maybe there's a pattern, like maybe Dong doesn't like you anymore.
Oh, not my dog. No, not my dog. You're the wrong guy.
Is there any person Dong doesn't like?
I believe he tweeted once that he didn't like Jack Salter.
Oh, okay.
But like I think really what like I don't think he dislikes Jack strongly or anything. I just think like he just hates tournaments a lot, and then maybe Jack was at a bunch of his tables or something, and he just like I can't buy in for another tournament and just see Jack there at my table again. Like I just can't do it.
Doug is
But
great. He's great.
so yeah, I'm kind of on the same page with you as far as like traveling goes. Like I like to pick spots where like I can do other things. There's people that I want to see. There's like it's like an enjoyable trip. I'm like past the point, even I'm really the past couple of years where I was like, all right, well I need to make money. Let's go like grind stops and like Barcelona's another one that's pretty good.
Oh yeah, that one I probably do as well. Yeah, that's a good one.
Slowly getting less and less retired.
No, I think now I have about 5 stops, right? Monte Carlo, Barca, Australia, Vegas, and Macau. And the Macau one I might skip sometimes. I think that's like that's about the range. Maybe I skip one here and there or do another one, but like I think 4 or 5 trips a year sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Macau, the poker is great, obviously, but I just hate the city so much. I'm not going back. I don't think
it really grew on me. Huge advantage in Asia. Know someone, hands down, most important thing. I don't think I've ever been in a place where it's like it sucks when you don't know anyone, and once you know people, like the food suddenly becomes 10 times better. The people are 5 times nicer. You can actually communicate, that helps.
Yeah.
And so there's a couple of things that become a lot more enjoyable.
Maybe I shouldn't get the inside scoop. I got like the tourist Macau. I didn't like get like the real.
Don't do it.
All right, so let's talk about this then. So, do you feel like with poker, you've kind of done like what you set out to do? Do you feel like kind of like that chapter of your? I mean, obviously you're gonna keep playing good stops, right? But in terms of like accomplishment, do you feel like you really accomplished like what your goals were when you started playing poker when you were younger?
I mean, let's talk about the goals I had when I was younger. I think back then there was no. I don't think I ever. Let me see. I think my main goal, like the one where I was like, okay, this is the one that is the above every other goal, sub goal that I set myself. It was become the best. It's like I want to be the best tournament player that exists. And so I think a lot of the sub goals were streamlined towards that. Like play my first 50K in the next, 6 months back then, or like make, I don't know, play 2,000 NTTs in the next 2 months, or like make that, reach that, play that, get there, move up in these stakes. It was literally like everything. I was like beat heads up sit and goes with at least that win rate over 1,000 games or something. I was literally okay. If I want to be good at tournaments, I have to be good at least solid at heads up. I have to be fine at playing like 25 through 80 bigs or something. I even dabbled in heads up cash and played good people, and I was like, okay, now if I want to compete really well and in the highest high rollers and play against the best people, I was like, okay, I have to be good at short stack. I have to be good at ICM. I have to be good at deep stack games. I have to be good in all these variable situations. I was okay, let's just play every game. Let's play 6max cash. I mean, I played a lot of 6max cash last year and the year before with the best people. And I was like, just whatever I do, try to get the most out of it. And I was like analyzing 60 or 70% of the time and just playing like 30%, just grinded the session, reviewed the hands, analyze the people, try to adapt. It was like, I think that was always my kind of strategy with different sub goals. So I was like, okay, I want to improve in that area because this is my main goal of becoming the best. So I have to put the time in there right now. And I think my passion was the drive to that main goal. And all the sub goals were just mandatory because I want to get there. And now I think that passion, which was driven by that constant, like I'm a person, I need 2 things. I need steady information and growth, and I need to feel like I'm contributing. These are, I think, the 2 things that define me as a person. And so both of these things were a lot more in the beginning, right? Like the group of people in terms of information, like in the beginning, it's just like, it just flows in, you learn all these new things, and it's just like, it's a lot of it's way different in terms of how the information gets processed than it is today. Like back then, it was a lot about more filters. Like it was more like, okay, we have this information, we try to make sense of it, we try to make sense of it again, we try something again, like new strategy, try it that way, try it that way. It was a lot of adapting, like figuring out things. Now it's information, PO, result, right? So it's like way less creativeness and more how to build a construct to learn as much information in a short time period as much as you can. And that's not generally something I'm like good at, interested in, not really giving me much. And
it's kind of like when you look at chess, right? I don't really play that much chess. I'm not very good, but there's chess is just so precise and solved, and like you have to know every opening so deep and all of the lines, and like you have to put so much work and time to even just get in the door before you worry about like all the other things that are going on. And then you compare it to like there's a chess variant. I think it's called like Fischer 960 or something like that. And basically, it's a game type where at the start of the game, all of the pieces in the back row are just randomized. So rather than just like rather than be like, okay, you got to know like the 13th move and like the Sicilian dragon, like in order to have a chance, like watch out for this crap. Like rather than that, it's just like, holy shit, the knight's in the corner now. Like, you have to like figure things out. And like, I find stuff like that to be like way more fun, because you're trying to figure out like general broad ideas and like your own implementation. And your own implementation can actually be a lot better than other people's because it's not solved, right? But when everyone gets a more like uniform, like these are the rules, these are how you play within the rules, these are like the general ideas, like these are the specifics, these are like the sizes that tend to be most optimal, and then you kind of take the magic out a little bit. There's no magic anymore.
I totally agree. I think you just basically explained why I lost that passion over time. It's because I think my brain, my skill, like the thing where I'm good at is I can see the road from start to finish really well, right? And then I can like, okay, I just learn information on that road, and I'm someone that is like, okay, we can push this, we can make this better, we can like improve this. And other people, they go like this step, then they take the next step, and then they take the next. They're like, okay, let me learn the first 4 moves, right? And I'm like, okay, let's clear the board and let's play it with 5 pieces or something. Like, let me understand like how the game works. Like, and I think that's a completely different approach to learning things in general. Like, I want to understand the way things function, and other people, they want to have the the raw information and store it, which I personally think is not optimal.
I know this is something that's not going to happen, so I'm not like delusional and thinking that the community would embrace this, but I think for poker to really kind of keep like to kind of remain in that way where it's less about just like the precise range calibration and more about like clear the board, like let's play with some pieces and figure stuff out. I kind of feel like we need to embrace new variants more frequently, and I know that's not going to happen because it's too complex for new people. Generally speaking, like simplistic forms of poker, like games that are like easy to learn but like hard to master, are like the games that like tend to be more popular. If you start throwing in too many cards in your hand, all of a sudden people are getting a little scared,
You're talking about PLO or
well, sort of
the great game.
The great game. Don't worry, you don't have to shill PLO here.
Yeah, what about we all just switch to Raz now? That sounds amazing.
I don't even mean traditional game types. Like I think that like if there was more creation put into just figuring out games and like making new ones, like I would rather have some new games that like not many people have really, or no one's thought about, or a few people have thought about, and see them kind of become popular. I mean, look, like Chinese poker, or open-faced Chinese, I never really got into it because it's not poker, it's a puzzle game. It's like disguised like poker because there are cards and like some chips. But it's not poker. It's a puzzle game and like pattern recognition, all that kind of stuff. But like when that came up, like that was huge because it was like a whole new thing, and people, like a lot of people enjoyed it, right? I think if as a community we're more willing to kind of branch out and like play new forms of poker, it would kind of alleviate some of the issues that I feel like make you like the game a lot less nowadays.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the reason why people stick with the game is because the first thing you said is like recreationals just don't necessarily like to learn a new game. Like they're just used to, they like to play the game where they feel like they can win, and that's why a lot of people stick to Hold'em.
Yeah, and that's why it's probably going to remain number one for some time to come, especially the main event, everything. Also, it's a great game.
Yeah.
It's
tradition. Like people are very tradition bound.
All right, so let's talk about your day to day now. Now
Yeah.
you do a few trips a year. You stop by, you show up for the occasional high roller. But what's like your day to day life like? Like where are you at? Where are you living at these days? What are you up to on a normal day?
Mm-hmm. So my day to day, it looks different every time. It has like a little bit of a structure, I think. So I moved to Vienna. I moved in Vienna. Like I bought a place here in Vienna like about 9 months ago. Oh yeah, 9-10 months ago. Very, very happy. That was one of the best decisions. I'm normally not someone that buys much stuff, but except experiences. But materialistically, I'm not buying too many things. So that was something where I was like, okay, now I want to have a place where I can be home. And that was, yeah.
It's a good feeling.
It's an amazing feeling. So yeah, this is becoming more and more my home now. I have like my little office place here where I have like a wall where you can write on, and like it's cozy. Like there's a lot of things you can add over time that makes it feel more like it's your place, it's your identity. Like this is just my place. So I'm very happy about that. Day to day, I mean, I normally wake up between 8 and 10:30, I would say. And right now, my main focus is just a company like Primed. We founded that one last summer, after the summer, basically. And yeah, that's my day to day right now. Like working on the app we started, and getting everything around that done. Like finding the right people, finding amazing people to work with, finding new projects. So yeah.
Okay, yeah, let's talk a little bit about Prime Mind, because I think a lot of the viewers here don't know what that is. You want to basically
sure.
say what it's all about, explain it, all that kind of stuff. I downloaded the app and looked at it a little bit, but I think you would do better here. It is your company.
Yeah. So basically, I'll start like one step behind that. So basically, the idea behind Primed is I want to take all the cool things, all the things I enjoy, and that mindset, I think, that mindset that made me successful in poker, that's the one I want to like nourish. Like this, be passionate about something. Don't give a fuck what other people say. Like just do it. Like I was literally there broke. I mean, I grew up super poor. Like my family never had money. I was just like, my studies sucked. I was like, okay, like what do I like? So I was like, I really enjoy this game. So I was okay. Let's just do it. And I think that's this kind of thing where it's like, okay, like let's do it. And if this is actually what I like right now and nothing more, then let's go all in. Like, let's get there. Like who's gonna, like, I think I'm not necessarily a driven person. Like I was not like someone is like, okay, he always gets his shit done. Like actually not at all. But I was like, okay, if I want to get somewhere, like I have to start at some point. And that was the point where I was like, okay, what's the thing I'm most passionate about? It's poker. And that's what I'm going to pursue.
Actually, that was the exact word that I was going to use if you didn't use it. It seemed like you were really passionate about it.
I like poker was, I breathe, like literally. I think it's very rare that you meet people like that. And that's the thing I'm looking for. I did not find that basically my whole life. I think looking back, I was always looking for it. I got it here and there, and like outer factors always bring you out, and you're like, nah, maybe not that. Like it was chess, and then it's like, and then you go down and down and down, and it's like, oh, like there's never gonna be anything for me. And then I was like, okay, like I can't, like that way, you're not gonna find anything. So I was like, okay, let's look for things. Like let's try things and let's do the thing that makes most fun. And I was like, okay, I have to take this more serious. And I think that was a poker journey. And then now taking all that positivity out of it, like all the things I learned. I mean, in these 5 years, I mean, it's just the experiences you make. You know, if you put so much condensed energy and effort and like thinking so much about it, it was literally, if I look back, I think I spent 12 hours plus every single day for the last five years on poker. Like thinking about it, talking about it, playing, sitting on the computer, like researching something, working with programs. Like it's just nonstop. Like how can I make this better? How, like, who can I talk to? Talk about hand histories, be in poker, like poker strategy forums, like hand histories. I mean, I think you know it too, right? Like it was insane. And when people talk to me and they're like, oh, I want to be like really good. And I was like, okay, how much energy do you put into it? And it was like, oh yeah, you know, like 3 times a week, and I like do this thing on the side. I'm like, you know, it's fine if you do that. Like the actual act of playing poker 3 times a week is totally fine, but don't say that you want to be the best. You know, like don't say that you want to be so and so and so good if you don't put the energy in that gets you there.
You know, honestly, I think in today's day and age, the world is really competitive. It's a really competitive place in most spaces. There are people that will spend all day trying to achieve the thing you want to achieve because they also want it. And because information is so much more accessible across most industries, it's a lot easier for time to actually result in improvement. And so if you want to be successful or the best, or, you know, maybe even just like a top tier, if you want to be top tier in really any space, any industry, you really have to be ready to like commit your life to it if you want to be the best.
I mean, I totally agree. Like I love this quote from Mark Cuban. It's like, work like there's someone working 24 hours a day to take it away from you. Like
that's a great
I
quote.
think that's exactly the point. Is I think we all grew up in this unicorn world where everyone's telling each other like, you can do it, like you're special, you know, like it. I mean, it's this kind of thing where, oh, you can just do whatever you put your mind to, like just, you know, like think about it and you'll get there. And it's like, of course there's lots of disappointments, you know, like it was the same with me. Like I think if I wouldn't have been lucky and got in the right spot, and there's lots of like things coming together at the right point and like running good in the important situations, I did not grow up with that mindset to like, oh, be driven, just like put in energy and then like you get there like that. No, it was like, no, just think about it and you get there. Like that was like the, you know, you're great, you're special, but you haven't done anything. So I think that's this important thing, the basis basically behind the company, where I'm like, I just want to find people and connect with people and work with people where I see this passion for something. And I don't care what it is.
You know, I feel that in my life, one of the things that I think gave me the most chance of success is that I have just always really enjoyed competitive things. You know, when I was young, I played chess, and then I got into like video games, and I was always like trying to be competitive at like a national level or whatever, and then eventually found poker, right? But like I always was trying to play competitive, mainly one-on-one game types or different games. And the thing is, I learned really early on that if you're going to play chess or you're going to play StarCraft or you're going to play whatever, right? If you suck, you lose. You know, there's no one that's like, oh, you gave it your best. You're going to rank up on the ladder because, like, really, you did some great micro there, man. You did a good job. Or like, wow, move 5 was great in that game. So, like, yeah, you lost, but we'll give you some bonus points because you really tried your best. No, if you lose, you fail. It's over. You lost. And if you don't want to lose again, learn, fix it, and then next time, don't lose, you know? And so I guess, like, having that kind of, like, competitive spirit in me from a young age, it made me more realistic because, like, yeah, you're totally right. People love to be like, oh, you're amazing, I'm amazing, and the world's amazing, and you can do anything you want to do. Like, no, you actually can't do anything you want to do. it's a privilege to get to do what you want to do, and you should work hard to get there.
Yeah, I think the substance of what we are trying to say, what they're trying to, it's all, there's always the truth, and that's why it's so hard to like say like, oh no, that's bullshit. Like there's truth in it, right? Like we have like huge opportunity. We can basically do whatever we want, but it's not like you put in 100 hours and then you have it. It's like if you set a goal that is like out of the ordinary, then you actually have to put in like maybe 10,000 hours to get there. And that's like the thing of like, oh, you set that goal. Yeah, it's going to take you about, 5 to 10 years to get there. It's like, that's the kind of where people have this expectation of like, oh yeah, everyone's telling me I get there. So, oh, after 3 months, I did not get there. So I'm going to stop. And that's exactly how I was thinking when I was younger. I was like, oh, like things didn't work out sometimes, and that didn't work out how I wanted it. And there was not this like, doesn't matter. It's just what I love, what I want to do, where I want to get. I think that's what poker gave me, and where I took a lot of things out of it.
All right, so let's talk about Prime Mind, because we talked a little bit about how mindset coming into it. Tell us a little bit about the company itself, about the app itself.
Yeah, for sure. I think this is super important because it's like the idea behind it and why it's so important to me. Because so basically Primed is built on this, right? And so the idea is now we're 7 people here working here in Vienna. And the idea is we want to launch products and bring out things where we feel like we create something that has value. And that value we want to multiply and spread as much as we can. So Prime Mind is based on Elliot Rowe. Elliot Rowe is a very well-known mindset coach. He works with a lot of poker players, used to work with Olympic athletes, MMA champions, like lots, like traders, like lots of high profile.
Yeah, I went on his podcast, I think a month or two ago.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. Like he's just, like I had sessions with him for almost 2 years now, I think. That's when my run started, so maybe. I mean, literally every time I won a tournament, I had a session with him. It's just it really. I would say I'm very anti-esoteric. I like proof of things. I like to test out things myself. I just like to feel things and like see for myself how does it actually work. What impact does it have on me? I like information in general. So and then I had sessions with him. I was like, okay, this is amazing. I referred a lot of people. I've never heard negative feedback. It was just like, this is great. This is actually helping me focus. It's helping me to be in the zone, be in that moment, finish that task better than I would have done without it. And that's like, if it's a final table where you're basically playing like a 500K sit and go, it's like, yeah, I need this. So that's the basis of the app Prime Mind, which is like our first product of the company. We started it approximately October last year, and we were like, I was talking to 2 guys that I think have an amazing mindset, really great work ethic, friends from Germany. And so it was like, okay, let's bring this into a product. Let's spread this. Let's make this so people can use it every day without having to take a one-on-one session with Elliot. And so we started working with him, basically reviewing tapes, sending them back and forth. How can we make this happen? How can we put this in 10 minutes? How can people like profit from this the best way? And that's how we were like, oh, this is amazing. Like we used them, we got feedback from people, and the feedback was great. And we were like, okay, people really like this. People want to use this. We're like, okay, let's put this together. And so we started, and fast forward May this year, we launched end of May around the Super High Roller Bowl. And yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. Like working with the people is amazing. I'm very happy with the product. It's also, you have all the challenges of a startup, like crazy how many things come up. Also, I probably same thing. Like I'm so passionate about it. I put in like 12 hours plus almost every day. thinking about it, working on it, and I'm 100% confident this is going to be way bigger than poker with a way higher ceiling. And it's not this time. It's not me going all in. It's like a lot of people going all in, and that's what I love about it. So yeah, it's an app, Prime Mind. Download it, check it out. It's really cool. It's for free. You can test out things, and then if you want to use the pro content, like there's poker content in there. We get esports content in there actually, like tomorrow I think, or the day after. With Nathan NBK is like a really famous Counter-Strike player, super cool dude. So basically, Elliot works together with these pros to create like content that is exactly for that moment. And I use the poker primers. Like I don't have that many sessions with Elliot anymore. It's just like it's perfect. 10 minutes, I get primed for like a poker tournament. And the feedback, like that's the part actually I can browse through this. We have a feedback tool in the app, and people can give feedback, and the amount of feedback we received was insane. Like it was almost like I think every second user feedback, which is like incredible.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And yeah, and like so now the feedback was we had I think almost 9.6 out of 10, and the people that voted, like there's a couple of people in there that voted like 1 through 3 stars, and that was because for their version of Android or iOS there was a bug with the tape, and it ended before the end, so it didn't buffer through the end, and that was like their negative feedback. So like the content itself, like I've never, like there's literally no response where someone's like, oh, no, this is shit, that really doesn't help me. So I think I've heard 1 or 2 feedbacks where it was like, no, like, I do meditation a lot, for example. These people, like, when there's like, oh, I do this a lot, it's not really getting me into that space. Totally understandable. It's not like the product, like it's not like, oh, when you've done 5 years of meditation, you'll like, this is what you use every day. I think it's for everyone that just wants to be more in the zone and perform better.
I've never really had like any mental coaching at all. So like I can't really speak to like personal experience on any of that stuff really. I can say that I know a lot of people that have said great things about Elliot Rowe, about Jared Tendler is another one, one of the more well-known guys. So I think that like, if it helps you out, I think that's great. Really, anything that can help make your life better, help make your thinking more clear. Like the way that you think, how you think and feel is extremely important. And if you can spend part of your time to, make that part of your life better, I think that that's important and valuable.
Totally agree. I think especially for us, where there's a huge difference between, we just have 10 days a year where we make 80% of our money. Like
more like 1 or 2 days
yeah.
we make 60.
Depends on the player.
I guess I'm not winning as much stuff, so just personal.
But yeah, I think that's why it's so important. Like you should, even if something is just improving you, but like, if the food you eat or the water you drink or whatever it is, like if it makes you feel like 0.05% better, that might just be like an $800 water, right? Like that's the way I think about it, is like, how much does Elliot have to help me, right? Like he just has to help, like it's a 1-drop final table. If he helps me by like 0.01%, he's break even. So what, like how can you not figure out like all these different things, like how's your best routine, like gym or no, like breakfast or no, where do you eat, like get a massage or no? Like I think this is things that are way underrated.
Yeah, I would agree with that, but the thing is, not too many people get to final table the 1-drop.
Oh, wait, but 1, 2, 2
out of 2, 100% in a recent survey. But dude, honestly, like I'm excited for you, man. Like I am looking forward to see like how you do in like the business world. Like, you're starting your own
Thanks.
company, you're like doing your own thing. Um, I guess I just know how tough it is for people to move outside poker. I think I've taken kind of like a little bit of a baby step in the way that I've gone about it,
Yeah.
where I created like a business that's within the poker space still, and I worked more on like my brand and like videos and like all the social stuff. So yeah, it's like I'm not playing poker all the time. I'm focused on these other aspects and I'm working hard on them, but still like in the poker space, it's just kind of allowing me an opportunity to, if I want to transition further, I have the skill sets, and obviously I can make like a great business in the space. But, I see a lot of different people trying to kind of branch out, and I think it's a struggle for a lot of poker players. Actually, this is a good general topic. So what do you think, because we know a lot of poker players that, they played for a while and they're either getting a little bit tired of it, or they kind of want to move into something else, or, sadly for a lot of them, like the game's kind of like passing them by a bit and they're struggling to kind of maintain, their success within poker. What should they be doing to kind of figure out what their path is afterwards? Because, you found something here like pretty quick. Like this was like, it was not a long time after you were playing poker full time to where you were already starting your own company and found something that you love to do. So what was that like transitional period like?
Um, I think the two things I would say that where I think it's just fortunate, or I don't know how you want to say that. Like, I think my skill set that made me good in poker makes it very easy for me to get out of it, because it's so easily it's so easy to transition it into other things. Like, I think I'm someone that thinks a lot. That's also a
I
downside, but
think I'm someone that thinks a lot.
that's a great sentence. But
I'm gonna put a quote up on Instagram. Funerals. I think I'm someone who thinks a lot.
yeah, I know I'm someone who thinks a lot, and also in a very critical way, with people around me, also with myself, and even a little harder with myself. I think a lot. So that's one of the first things. The second is awareness. A lot of things play into that. Reads, I mean, it's kind of this like empathy, what's going on, like how people feel. Like, I get these things very quickly, and I think this awareness gives me a good feeling for authenticity. I get a very quick feeling of like, does this fit or not, basically. So does that person fit in that relationship, in that job, in like, does that, is that the right, also for like design, the colors that fit together, does that, all these things, like, and I think that authenticity gives me good reads on people, because when I look at someone, it's this information that you see, it's going into your brain, you process it, and you're like, oh, something is off. And when you have 1,000 data points on someone where you're just comfortable, then you see that 1,001 time, you're like, oh, that's for sure a different situation. And if you have results for like 300 out of the 1,000 times, you're like, oh, now taking it back to poker, like that's what he had. Now I think I'm very confident that he has something different. I think that's kind of how my reads work. And so taking that outside of it, that awareness, or however you want to call that, gives me a good advantage in, because I don't stick to things that are not good for me too long. I think that's the main thing. Like, I felt, okay, I have to get into the high roller scene. That's where I want to be a year before most of the other people. That gave me a huge edge. I just got information and experience that other people don't have right now, that might most likely would be better. Right? Like, if some of the Germans played high rollers like they could have a couple months before me, or if they started at the same time, would have been way different for me, way harder, way more competition. I think a lot of people weren't aware that this is the route to take. And then a year later, everyone was like, oh, let's play high rollers.
Yeah. At least the Germans did.
Yeah, but that's, because mostly that was because I was also like, at that point, I won a lot more money, and I was like, okay, guys, like, come on, like, this is, like, this is really good for you. And now it's like the most casual thing in the world. They're all sitting there. It's like, oh, like, we play these every day. And it's very interesting how that just happens literally in like 9 months' time. I mean, like Stefan Goosecore, he was just, like maybe 2 years ago, still playing like Zoom 500 online or grinding. And then it was this push, basically, like, come on, like, I learned so much in poker from him. I think he was better than me. Oh, he was better than me at like maybe 80 or 90% of the time we played together. Maybe even more. And so I was like, dude, come on, like, play higher. I buy you action, play cash game, like, play that game. Or like, play that higher. Is like always like a little hesitant. And now it's like, he's the boss. Like, he's sitting there, like, everyone wants his action. And it's very cool to see. But I think that's like maybe the little difference that was different. And taking that into the outside world, I was just like, okay, if I want to do something else, I have to stop. Like, I have to take a month or two and just see what attracts me. Like, I took 1.5 months off, and I was like, okay, I do nothing now, and let's see what I like. Let's see what I actually feel like doing every day. And so I looked into trading. I've like read a lot of books. I like got in contact with people. Like, I looked into business, and I was like, okay, so like the whole entrepreneurial thing, that's exciting. That's like this, you can do poker, a lot of positive things in poker in a team, and way higher ceiling. And that was very attracting to me. And so then I went to a trading company, did consulting for them. Amazing experience. Been there for like a month. They offered me a job. It was like really cool, and it was like an amazing, really, really cool experience. Met a lot of cool people, and I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not gonna work here. But that was so useful to know, because that was poker again, right? Like, that was literally the exactly same thing. If you're good at poker, almost secure you're good at trading.
There are actually a lot of poker players that have kind of moved that direction. I'm not sure if you know Clayton. He's like known on 2+2. He's like an American.
Heard of him, yeah.
Yeah, so he got into trading. A bunch of guys, I think, in Chicago, kind of got all into that. So I mean, I don't really have any experience trading, so I know nothing about it. But I do know that's been kind of a common route people have taken.
It's funny that if you played somewhat high stakes and like tournaments more so than cash games, but heads up as well, like you're so much more used to variance than traders are. Really, like it's huge. You go in there and people are like, oh fuck, like I had this losing, I was like that, and I was like, huh? What's going on here, guys? You're losing like every day. It's not even your money. Like, you're not even losing your money. You get a salary, you get a bonus. Like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it was just really interesting to see. And then there's like poker players that's like, oh, how much money have you lost? Like, you lose money basically every day. Every second day, every third day. Like, you just sit there and you're like, okay, I lost. Like, next day, if you play on a certain level, obviously, and like are on a certain level. But very interesting to see the two worlds that are very similar, just with a different content input, basically.
I saw something last Friday. I think a lot of the tech stocks took a big hit, and they lost like 4 or 5% in like an afternoon. And there was like articles about it and madness. And I'm like, man, these people, if they were in the world of cryptocurrency, would die. They would die. 5%. If Bitcoin loses 5% one day, it's like, it's just another day. Like, it just happens all the time,
Yeah.
Well, what's your experience like? Because I think crypto is a world that I've also seen a lot of poker players kind of getting into. It's a very popular one, I imagine, partly because like it's easier to move money around. But I also think that I don't know what it is, but I just see so many poker players getting into crypto, mainly Bitcoin, Ethereum, all the other kinds of currencies. Did you at all look at crypto as something that you might want to do something with in the future?
Yeah. I think the most important thing is, to me personally, I spend a lot of time researching the technology itself, because I want to understand. I still don't 100%, that's for sure, but I want to understand it. I always learn something new when I read something and dig deeper. But I feel like I'm getting there, and I can explain it to someone, so I feel like, okay, I didn't talk too much shit. And I was like, this is just, it's not, it's not this thing where you're like, oh, this is better. This is like clearly superior. This is like whatever system we have in place right now, a lot of things are wrong with it. And especially I think when you're into investing over like the last couple of years, and like, you invested in a lot of different things, you just see what's wrong. I'm literally, I've been saying to friends as well, like when I see all the markets right now, like a lot of things feel really wrong. What's happening in this, like the whole stock market is just crazy. Like the share buybacks that are happening to like push the stocks. I mean, especially with like Trump as a president, like basically right now, like if you look at the real growth of companies, it's not reflected in the stock growth. It's actually the companies taking debt because it's cheap, and then they buy back shares with that debt, and that pushes, because there's less share outstanding, so that pushes the price of the stock. Whereas actually the only thing he did is he created, debt and reduced the amount of outstanding share. So it's like, you look at certain companies, you research it, and it's very varying. It's really like there's a lot of things happening that a lot of people, I think, don't really understand, myself included. There's obviously a lot more things happening that I don't understand. But same in the real estate sector, like there's a lot of things happening. Like a lot of people buy real estate that should not be buying real estate.
That's like, always been true.
But right now, I mean, there's very little reason for me to believe that the percentage, like, how do you call that in English? The percentage you pay on mortgages, interest. Yeah, the interest rates are so low right now, especially in Europe, which is kind of saying, hey, we have a really stable economy, which I would, like a very stable economy, which I'm like, okay, like from my perspective, there's a lot of things happening in Europe. Okay, maybe not so stable, my perspective. And so a lot of people get debt, like take debt that I don't think will survive like an, I don't know, increase of like 3-4% if they haven't taken like a fixed loan. And so, or a fixed interest rate. And if that goes to like 5 or 6% or something, or like even higher if something really bad happens, like there's going to be, if you have money, you're going to get like rich. I think that's my take on the market right now.
Well, real estate specifically, back in 2009, when the market crashed. What's up?
Good times, yeah.
Good times, yeah. Actually, I bought my house right after the crash. I just
Congratulations.
Completely timed the market. But anyway, if you look at like what was going on back then, a lot of the problem came from like variable rate mortgages, where like it would like fluctuate based on whatever factors, and then when it got a lot higher, people couldn't afford it, they would default. I mean, there were a lot of problems. I'm not an expert in really any of these fields, and it is a little bit like, it's a little overwhelming when you talk to someone that knows what's going on. Where you're like, I'll listen and I'll love listening to you because like I like to learn about things, but like I recognize how little I know relative to like what actual people in these fields actually know. But kind of like all of the markets right now, this has been a really long bull run in basically every market for some time now, and usually there's like some kind of correction along the line.
I mean, all of this is only like the things I observed. There's nothing like I don't take any strong measures. Like I do some things, like I don't hold any stocks or anything. Like I try to find different ways to invest. I mean, we're talking about crypto. Like I think this is the background why I think crypto is so viable. Cryptocurrencies, just because if that system is so fucked up, and I think it is, like the whole thing of governments being able to print money, that always was like, wait a second, like what like, oh, paper, nice. It's kind of, it doesn't make sense. It's just this thing where it's like, okay, it's a fine structure, it's probably the best we can do right now, but for sure there's gonna be something better.
Yeah, I think the most important elements of cryptocurrency that are important in like evaluating different cryptos, I mean, there's a lot of things, but I think the most important ones are deflationary. there needs to be a set number of the currency. I think you kind of open the door for problems by not doing that, because if certain people can print more, you end up having those exact same problems that like most
Yeah.
countries have. The reason that inflation is a thing is because the government's in debt. They have to print more money. They have to pay. So deflationary, decentralized. You don't want to have a few people with all the power. That always creates problems as well. What's up?
That's hard.
It's hard. It's hard. But I mean, Bitcoin has some problems.
Yeah.
The miners, okay, so I mean, obviously the mining power controls a lot of it, but it's pretty good, at least compared to a lot of
Yeah.
our currency or any other country's currency, right? And then the other thing that I think is really important is that you can have fast transactions with low fees. I mean, I think that that's like really those three things to me are the most important aspects when you're like looking at cryptocurrency.
I agree. I think there's obviously other factors like the use cases and stuff that are where it's viable. I'm very interested in the whole space. I think it is just very interesting to follow what's happening. I'm not sure. I mean, I feel like there's going to be like poker 2005 or whatever, or 6, when everyone started to play. Like, there's going to be a lot of corrections. Like, it's I just think about how was it when people started trading stocks like 30 years, or I don't know when, like first exchange opened, like what, in the 70s, early 70s, or like late 60s or something. Like, how was it back then? Right? Like, there was an exchange here.
It was vicious.
And like you have like two different prices that are completely like different. And then like it's all like manually, and I feel like it's not too different. Like, in terms of how people approach it and what edge is to be gained, it's probably like, well, kind of maybe comparable, or like penny stocks or stuff like that. Like, it's there's certain
shout out
things...
to the Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, it's that, yeah, exactly. So that's definitely not a space. I would say I'm more knowledgeable than most of the people in the space. I'm definitely not one of the really knowledgeable people. I invested, spread a portfolio, just holding, not doing anything fancy. Like, there's maybe one or two things that I think are like really obvious that I take, and that's about it. My main focus is I want to invest in the cryptos where I think that have really strong developer teams, or like just the ones where I feel like, oh, the use cases they're setting up, like a roadmap they come up with, like the team behind it, the people supporting it. That's basically like my approach, like more fundamental analysis than anything technical. And that's my approach to it. That's all. Like, I really love following the whole thing, though.
It's a lot of fun, man. I check the markets every day. I'm more of just like a long-term buy and hold Bitcoin guy. I think that there are some issues with Ethereum and just the way that it's split. People are like, what are they talking? not to bore some of you guys, but yeah, I guess like I also have some positions in certain cryptos that I think do have some long-term value in terms of what they can do. Like MadeSafe or Factom, or I'm not sure how deep in the game that you've been diving, but I think like realistically, long term, I think crypto is going to be a thing. I think it makes sense. I think that it's a good substitution for fiat currency, and I believe in the concept. Is that going to end up being Bitcoin? I don't think we really know. Could the market crash severely? Absolutely.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
I mean,
and also there's just madness right now. Whenever there's an ICO and a new coin comes out,
what is
people just
happening
like,
right now?
what's up?
Like, what is happening with people right now?
It's madness, and part of the madness is I think people just have too much goddamn money. Every single market has been crushing for so long. Everyone's getting really aggressive.
Yeah. I mean, just look at, okay, so I find it so funny how there's certain things, like you tell the story to someone in like real life terms. Like, let's say, okay, this company, they're like maybe 6 months old. It's these like 5 guys. They have this advisor that runs this like, like bigger company. And now they're like, they want to raise money. Like, their evaluation is like, I don't know, like 250 million. They want to sell 51%. Okay, find someone that's going to give your startup, like, it could be the space of whatever. Nobody's going to put down 250 mil.
Dude, in the crypto space right now, all you have to have is a cool name, a couple of like legit-ish people behind it, and then just like an address to send some goddamn Ethereum.
Great website. You need a great website. Like,
yeah.
You just need one with like special effects and like stuff is coming down and it's like a little
and like a trendy looking like little icon or whatever.
Yeah. No, I mean it's just funny to see things like that, because it reminds me of these funding, like crowdfunding campaigns where people, like, I think someone raised like 100, like this absurd thing. I don't even remember what exactly it was, but someone raised like 110 million, I think, in America for this absurd thing, and it was a complete fail. And I think it was was it a mixer? I think it was a mixer, like really absurd. Like I think it was over 100 million. And everyone was just like, oh, this is amazing. I want this one too. And then like 5 weeks later, it's like, dude, what have you been doing? Like, what?
So what's the value? That's the problem. Everyone's just kind of like forgetting about value. Good luck living off of your Ethereum. Good luck actually having real world. I mean, even Bitcoin, like there's not really that much real world application. Like it's increasing, it's getting better. But like if stuff goes down and the market's crashing, people aren't going to be like, well, at least I know I can hold on to my, Ethereum Classic. Like that's really like the long term, it's not going to help you. I mean, this is how ridiculous the crypto market is right now. Dennis Rodman wore a Potcoin shirt earlier today.
I know. That's like,
wore a Potcoin shirt to North Korea, and Potcoin's up 39% today.
Yeah. I mean, I hope he probably held almost all of them, I guess.
There's not that many. It's a $34 million market cap. Anyway, let's move on into some other stuff outside of crypto. All right. So as far as like investing goes, I still think I'm going with more traditional style, like real estate, like a lot of mutual funds, ETFs across like U.S. market, international, and then like some degree bonds. I'm actually being a little nitty nowadays and getting a little extra bonds just because like like a hedge against kind of the way everything's going down. But what stuff are you investing then if you're not in stocks at all? I assume you're not like going hard in the crypto space for like. And there are a lot of guys that are going 70% plus on the net worth.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
I mean, it like my strategy. So let's say the different markets. Real estate right now, I'm looking, but I think the market is very dry right now in most of the most of the cities. Like Vienna is terrible. I have connections here, but it's not great. So I have like 2 places here. Besides that, crypto, I have maybe like 2-3% or something, like 2-3-4.
That's really conservative.
Oh, I mean, like my strategy there is just I keep buying dips. Like
just buy the dip.
I'm serious. Like if it crashes, I just buy. I put in another, I don't know, 5% probably for the next one or something, and I would probably put in more for a further one, maybe in like 2-3 years or 1-2-3 years, something like that. I think right now, I don't really need it too much, but also it's not like it. I think it very heavily depends on. I mean, I have a lot of money bound in like real estate right now, so I wouldn't like. Depends on what you count the 2-3% of, right? Like whether it's your net worth or or like the liquid money you have. Poker obviously takes some investment. Besides that, there's a couple of things I do that, I don't necessarily want to talk about, but
it's cool, no worries.
Yeah, so that's like my strat right now. I'm more, I'm very, very happy with where I'm investing right now. So like getting really, really good returns over the year and have really cool network of people. So it's growing and I'm very happy right now.
I think it's
I wait for the crash. That's like I wait for the crash. If it crashes, that's gonna be.
That's when you're gonna strike.
Yeah, actually, that's actually my plan. Like right now I have a lot of a lot of investments that I can liquidate pretty quickly. And when market goes down more than, I don't know, 30, 40-ish%, I go all in. That's where I go all in.
Fedor is always ready to abuse the bubble.
Exactly. ICM, man, ICM. Money is so much more worth when nobody has it.
No, yeah, it's going to be interesting because, I remember like when I first kind of bought my house, became an adult or whatever, and everything had just tanked, back in like 2009. And like the general atmosphere then compared to like the way it is now, like with just how everyone's just happy with everything that they're doing. It's going to be interesting when we see a crash in our life, because it's going to eventually happen. And then just to kind of see like how the landscape is different. I'm like interested to see like how the strategies shift. And yeah, obviously when that happens, cash in hand becomes pretty valuable. But let's actually move on, talk about something else. So I know you like to do a lot of reading. I always see you tweeting about books and stuff. I'm going to be honest, I don't do reading really very much. I just too much on my plate. But do you have any books that like you found interesting, or I should read, or the good people of YouTube here should read?
I mean, I put together a list and rated them last year. I think I did a challenge. End of November to December was like 35 days, 40 books or something. And I think that's maybe like a nice short little story. I was how I approach things as well is like, okay, I was like, I want to read books, and I was like, okay, I want to read a couple books because I have time and I enjoy reading, and I want to catch up. Like I had a list of 50 books, and I was like, okay, I want to read them at some point, and I want to read them faster than I get new books in. And that's my main thing is like, okay, I read one book, I get 5 new books. And I'm like, oh, come on. So I was like, December, Christmas time, not so many things going on. I was like, okay, let's read a book a day. I was like, you know what? If you want to set a goal, like what I hate is I think I could read a book a day. That's like a tough but a reasonable goal. And I don't like, for example, normally people are like, oh, let's read 5 books in 35 days. Like you never read 10 books. Never. Right? Like if you set your goal to read 5 books, you never read 10. You most of the time read like 3 to 5, and you very rarely read 6 or more. And so I was like, okay, why not, take this more serious, because I really enjoy it and it's great, and like go about long-term efficiently improve my reading technique by setting myself a really hard challenge. And I was like, okay, let's do it. Let's start by speed reading techniques, like browsing through the internet, reading all the possible, like there's amazing blog posts about that, Tim Ferriss and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, the 40 books. And I was like, I think I got to almost 30 or something. So I was like 30 books or like 25 or 28 or maybe less actually. Maybe I said 30 and I read 20 or something. I don't remember 100%, but I think I read one book every 1.5 days or something. So I was very happy with that. Books I recommend. I really like Switch. It really depends on, is there like any specific topic that you're interested in?
Whatever you're interested in, man. Your recommendations.
So I think the book I gave most as a present is Switch, by Chip and Dan Heath, I think is the name. Then there are a couple of other books I really like. The One Thing, that's a great book, especially regarding do the one thing you love and you're passionate about. And I would say another one is Focus. I like that one too. So I probably forgot a couple one that I really like, but these are ones I always recommend. So
okay, cool, nice. Yeah. All right. So other than Prime Mind, are you doing any other business venture type stuff? I did see the commercial with Patrick Antonius in like Black and the White. Enjoyed that commercial thoroughly. So are you in any other business like situations as well?
Mm-hmm. So in that regard, my goal is to gather, as I said before, is like gather as much information as I can. So I like to be involved and get a lot of dive into a lot of processes with other companies. Like I'm involved with Envious, like an American
I saw
esports
that.
team.
I saw it. You wore like the jersey when you won the one drop, right?
Yeah, there's like I think it's a really cool organization, cool team. Um, just all around, I really like what they do. I learned a lot, and I think I also could give them input, which is great. I think these mutually beneficial relationships I really like. Then Noetics is something. What I like about them, I mean, it's basically a one-man show, like one and a half, two-man show ish. And what I like about them is, you can say whatever you want. It's pricey and so on. Like I I'm also a pretty hard judge. Like I was also like, if you read the messages we wrote and the talks we had, I was also like, oh, this is shit. This should we do better? Like this can't be like that. No, that like I give similar feedback, but the one thing I know is they spend a lot of energy on it. I think they have a great goal. Like what they want to do is they want to create great hoodies. That take like just let's say you set yourself the goal of like making really nice hoodie, like great quality, like the pockets, the way you produce the pockets, where you put them, like secret pockets, like the way you do the sewing, like the design. Like there's so many things that go into there, like 20 prototypes with like different productions, and it's just very interesting to me how much work there is behind something where you as a user only get to see like the 30 seconds you browse on a website and you're like, oh, like too expensive. And I like that journey of being part of seeing how that whole process works. And I think they're great. Like I think almost all the people that I talked to that have one said it's great quality, it's a great product. I agree, for a hoodie, it's pricey relatively, but dude, like high quality, like the fabrics, I could not believe. Like I don't know what they do to sell you a 40 euro hoodie. Like I don't want to know. Like I don't think you can reasonably buy a 50 euro hoodie anymore once you've digged into that space. It means it's shit quality. It means they produce it, like a really bad way.
AKA
I don't know.
China.
Yeah. I mean, AKA, yeah. So things like that, where it's just a lot of things go into that. In terms of investing, we're also invested in a German company that produces electrical scooters, like the bigger ones. They're doing really well. Besides that, I also really love a company here in Vienna. They're called Luke Roberts. They do smart lighting. They've just been exposed in I don't know, exhibition is probably exhibition in.
What is that?
So imagine it's a lamp, and they have different colors. Like obviously white is the standard color, but on your phone you can paint like basically where the light should be. So if you sit, if like the lamp is in the middle of the room, you sit over there, you can paint like in that space, right? And then the light only shines basically in that. There's like 355 lamps, and they can basically point in different directions. The technology is super amazing. Like if you play around with it, it's super cool. You can like only light the top when you watch a movie, or you can like dim it. You can use different colors. It's really cool. Like you should check out their page. So stuff like that is just, I meet people. They have a great team. I'm excited about like how they talk about their product and what their plans and dreams are. And I'm like, let me be part of this. Let me understand how you do this. Maybe I can help you in some way. And yeah, very very into that.
I feel like the standard of living is going to go up so much. I guess I don't mean like, like food and water, but I mean just like the way you live your life in your home. Like houses are going to get so much smarter in the next like 10, 20 years compared to where they're at right now. I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
Oh, I'm not sure how it's going to happen in the existing cities. That's actually something. I think it might just change the way, like, maybe we just build new cities. I think that's something very, very likely, actually. That we just go ahead and be like, okay, like let's build this city between, Beijing and Shanghai. and then eventually in like 50 years it grows into one city, you know. Like it's I think that like I've read this of the city. It was like they want to build a new city in like nowhere with like 34 million population or something. Like it, you know, it
Seems kind of crazy.
seems crazy, but I think that's how it happens. The change to like new technology, right? Like then you think about, is this the way we have streets nowadays? Is that the smartest way? The way we build houses, the way we where
Oh,
parks are and stuff like that.
I mean, older cities have like terrible, like the way that the house, the way the blocks are set up are terrible. I mean, like
Oh,
in New York, there's a lot of places that like don't have alleyways because when they were built, like there weren't alleys, and so like, there's nowhere for trash and stuff. It just goes out in the front. Like I mean, cities were not built optimally by any stretch of the imagination.
it's very interesting how American cities actually are, I feel like, a lot worse structured than European cities are.
Bang bang.
Oh, I mean, I just think the way people lived was more it had to be more centered, right? Like in Europe it was all like, okay, like the most important things in the middle, then like it's this kind of castle thing. And so in America that never really happened that way. So you just build these like huge places where the important things now, maybe you have to put it like on the end, that place is there and you have to drive 1.5 hours to get there. Whereas like in Europe, everything is, the most important places are like 15 minutes away from each other. So it's interesting concepts.
I think the problem in America too is just that cities are so big.
Yeah.
And like because America just has so much land, there wasn't really like oh well, let's try and make things convenient. We're like, fuck it, we'll just build farther out that way.
Yeah. I think the growth is huge too. Like, when you have a city with 300,000 people and then 80 years later it's 22 million, like that, that's how can you even build a city that, grows in a natural way that fast? Like,
all right, well, let's wrap this up. What do you got coming up? What are you getting into? What's on the docket?
Coming up, I mean, we're going to improve the app, that's for sure. Like, I definitely want to step this up a bit, personalize it more. That's important. I want people to be like, this is what I did today. This is how I feel right now. Now I took a tape. This is how I feel now. I'm into this. I'm into that. That's definitely something we want to get into. Besides other projects, I for sure want to open a place in Vienna, like a co-working space-ish, in like with a different thing behind. I start vlogging-ish.
You're gonna
actually
start
this
vlogging
week, yeah.
Is there a channel here on YouTube that we can check it out at?
Not yet. I'll post actually Prime. Yeah, you should find it already. I think there's only our videos from the app uploaded. Like the channel is called Primed. Yeah, I'll start vlogging. You'll just see it on my social media in like 1 or 2 days. So that's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I've done a little vlogging myself. It's an interesting experience.
Yeah, I just want to get people to understand our brand. Like in 2 years, I want to say I'm primed, and I want people to, oh yeah, now it makes sense. That's the plan.
Big dreams. All right. Anything poker related? Not gonna play the main?
I'll actually probably even play it. Like I go on a hiking trip in Banff in Canada, and that's end of June, beginning of July. So I might fly over and play the main.
Yeah, do a little hiking, play a little main event. I mean, what's not to love?
Yeah, exactly.
All right, man. Well, thank you for joining us here in the channel today. It's always good to hear from you.
For sure. Thanks for having me, and that was lots of fun.
That sounded really authentic. That was a lot of fun.
That was a lot of fun. That was actually interesting. It was a different style. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. All right, man. See you later. By the way, everyone, thank you for tuning in. I'm not sure if I mentioned this or not, but we do have a giveaway going. You can check it out in the comments below or on any of my socials. Thanks again for tuning in, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow for a vlog.
Also, don't take our investment advice serious.
Warning, these are amateurs. Do not try this at home.